usual group.
Okay.
And plus we're going to have Clara Engen, who's from the Encore Chamber Music. Her name is on the agenda,
Okay, got it. Yeah, I got it.
but we're also
Okay.
going to have Catherine Malmquist from the library.
Ooh, great. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, Anne, you are welcome to start the meeting.
Okay, it is now 8:33. We call this meeting to order. I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was July 22nd.
Second that.
Okay, thank
Got
you.
it.
And then Clara Engen from the Encore Chamber Music is going to make a presentation on their behalf.
All right, I will invite Clara into our group. In addition,
There she is.
she has another person joining her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Hi, Clara.
It's just going to take a second for you to catch up, I think. All right, Clara, let's see. There you go. Clara, give a sound check again. I don't think we can hear you.
Are you on mute?
I'm unmuted. Can everybody?
There we
hear me?
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we can hear you.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So Jinju and I are going to give a quick little presentation about a concert idea we had to do a little safe, socially distanced concert in Riverside Park. So hello, everyone. My name is Clara Engen. I am the head of operations for Encore Chamber Music. We are a very small little chamber music festival that started out of Gilmore Academy in Gates Mills. This summer would have been our 5th summer of programming, and it was canceled. We primarily do string quartets, smaller chamber music repertoire, and we usually have education programs as well, which were canceled this summer. And we normally have our concerts at the Tudor House at Gilmore Academy, so we have a very small audience base, mostly based in Gates Mills and Chagrin Falls. So we thought that we would reach out and see if doing a little concert in Chagrin Falls would be a really great way for our audience members to come out to see a live concert and to kind of engage more people in Chagrin Falls. It's something that they probably didn't get for most of the summer. So I'll let Jinju introduce herself really quickly and talk about her role at Encore.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jinju.
Hi.
I'm actually saying hello from Asia, so bear with me if there's a little bit of latency here. I am a violinist, grew up in Cleveland. I currently live in Montreal, Canada, but I call Cleveland home, and Clara and I basically founded the Encore Chamber Music together from ground up. We feel very integrated programming, and we try to have an interesting chamber music live experiences for our community in Mills. And this would be a really incredible opportunity for us to hear music while sharing our passion with your community.
So I have a little document with some details about our potential program. Is it okay if I share my screen for everybody?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so can everybody see my little Google Doc here?
Yes.
Okay, so we had to cancel our summer programming this year, and we thought, if there was a way for us to sort of recreate just a very small version of one of our concerts in a public space where we could safely maintain social distancing, that is sort of the plan. I met with Anne last week to kind of look at the park and decide, where the best place would be. It seems, after talking about it, that the patio up front in Riverside by the waterfall is probably the safest place. We were thinking maybe to do it in the back of the park, but there's not quite enough space for us to put our musicians and the pathway and everything. So we were thinking the patio area, we would amplify our musicians, and it would be, I put down these dates of late September if that were to work for the park. We're a little flexible on that. And then the program would be a selection of string quartet and duo/trio chamber music performed by Jinju, possibly by members of the Cavani String Quartet, who's a local, really excellent string quartet, and then some encore young artists that study music in Cleveland. So it would be pretty local. Everybody would be coming from around here, and we would kind of just put on something really casual and fun in the park for people who could either walk by and stop in or could come specifically for the event. Anne and I spoke a little bit about the yoga in the park and how the yoga instructor is doing social distancing for that. And so, thinking about the possibility of doing 10-foot by 10-foot squares for our audience members, putting up signs like asking that only 2 people per square, just so that, if a family comes, they can take multiple squares and not kind of crowd anybody else. And then we would put signs up around asking people to just, respectfully maintain social distancing and wear their masks. Yes. And then, of course, like I said, we would do amplification so that people could sit far away and still enjoy the music, even if they're not right up front. And then for advertising, we would try to keep this pretty small. Our goal is, like I said, just to be able to offer something interesting and something that people have been missing over the last couple of months. We would mainly advertise through our own network, getting our Chagrin Falls audience members out, having our Chagrin Falls board members and Gates Mills board members, advertise through their communities and their circles, and then as well as posters in physical places. We do have some small business supporters that were supposed to be featured in our 2020 summer festival, and so we'd like to feature some of those Chagrin Falls businesses that donated a little bit of money to support us. And we didn't get to celebrate them this summer because we didn't have So that is basically the extent of our presentation. We would love to talk about how this could work, any concerns that you have, or any questions about how we would be putting on this concert. So thank you.
Oh, this is Greta, and I just wanted to add that I think it's a great idea and very excited.
Thank you.
I have a question for the group, if you don't mind. We were hoping to do string quartet and selection of string quartets, trios, and things. But if we were to have a bigger group of musicians so that we have a little bit more of an impact for the community artistically, how big can we get? It was my question. I like to push the boundaries, apparently. So if you have a maximum amount of musicians that you would be comfortable with, it would be helpful for us to know.
Would you have your the musicians sitting on the patio slabs, and then the audience would be in the grass on chairs that they bring themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. We've never had this question before.
Well, Anne, this is Christy. I know, just if I could interject a slight note about just adhering to state and local COVID-19 guidelines and the maximum number that can gather in a group setting. So I think that should be our first foundation of expectation, is that state and local group setting is adhered to.
Yes.
So that would be 10 people
Okay.
in the orchestra.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. And you have to socially distance as well.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
Depending on how this works, Jinju, but I think, we
Yeah.
can all wear our masks, and maybe I'll get an encore mask. That would be fun.
Yeah, would be fun. Oh, I have been in Korea where there are live concerts going on at this point, and everybody's wearing masks, temperatures are taken. There are lots of safety measures that we can also mirror from their experiences as well, on top of the state measures that are being done in the United States. We're just being 100% safe.
Yeah. And just for your information, if you go on the Chagrin Yoga website, you can see a picture of the last Saturday where they were in their little 10-foot spaces, and that seemed to work out pretty well. Robin Peavy said they had 50 people.
Wow.
So that was good.
Yeah, yes, they did have a lot of people, and I'm not sure that that's really a good comparison, because they don't really invite an audience.
Right.
It's a class.
Right, but you can see how they spaced out the 10-foot squares. She used ribbon and golf tees.
Okay. I think that sounds like a very reasonable way to do it. Get out there early and put those in the ground.
And you may get people who just stand on the sidewalks, you know, against the fence by the river.
And that is sort of the goal for us. You know, for me, I won't be performing, so I'll be maintaining, you know, I'll be walking around and just making sure that things are going well, you know, making sure that we're not having any issues with social distancing in the audience. So I'll be there to sort of keep those, keep the safety guidelines sort of in place. Yes.
What time of day would you be doing this?
That is a question that we wanted to ask the Parks Commission, if there's a preference for time or during this last weekend of September. I know that you know, there's the yoga in the morning on Saturday, and then the weekend afterwards is when the Chagrin Falls Film Festival starts, right? October 6th. So I figured that this weekend, September 25th through 27th, is probably the best time. Normally our concerts are on Friday evenings or Sunday afternoons. And so that's a familiar time for our audiences. However, everything's out the window right now in terms of scheduling. So if you have suggestions or preferences, we can kind of work around that.
Yes. And if there are any regular events that normally happen and people have an idea of when Park Commission events usually happen, we could go along with that as well, so that we have as much integration as possible in the audience.
The only thing I know that's going on is the yoga class at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything else happening. The Friday evening sounds good. We always have a lot of people downtown going to dinner.
Okay. Would I have a question? Would October 2nd be a possibility for you guys, if Fridays are preferred?
I'm not, well, any maybe a couple dates would be better to pick, and anything here is definitely subject to village review, council review,
Right.
the guidelines. I mean, we have not had any events in the village this
Right.
year. You know, yoga's a class and it's different, and you know,
We have had the Sunday markets though, the farmers market,
well,
but that's in Triangle. I mean,
and it's, yeah, it is, and I have not gone there, but my understanding is that they limit the number of people that go through. So
Booths are spread out and people are spread out.
Yeah.
right. Well, in any event, it's something that would need to be reviewed by council and you know, look at the guidelines and so forth. I don't think that it's comparable to either the market or the yoga. So it is something different.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever we do, we want to make sure that you feel comfortable and you feel like this is an event that could benefit the community. So this is not really for us. If we want to do something as musicians, it feels a little bit stifling not to be able to offer anything to our beloved community. So we're trying to do something, and of course, it has to be confirmed and reviewed by the leaders of the community as well.
Yeah.
So-
And can you speak to next steps? Now that we've heard the presentation, can we move on to your thoughts and next steps to offer?
Our thoughts or the Parks Commission thoughts?
The Parks Commission.
I would like it if Clara could please email to me a copy of your breaking the silence notes,
Yes.
and then I can pass those on to Nancy and anybody else that wants them,
Okay,
because I would think that the council would want to be able to see those too.
great.
Yeah,
And
are
would you like me to email Clara the Parks event reservation form?
Yes, please.
I will.
Very good.
Great.
So
Wonderful.
Clara, if you'll complete that form and get it back to Christy and send us your document too, that would be great.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
So then Nancy, can this topic be on the next council agenda?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Yeah, we'll talk about it on the next agenda. Yeah.
Okay,
And I would suggest that you propose a couple dates, times and dates. And as far as that application, Christy, I'm not sure that they need to comply with all of it right now, until it's approved or have more review from council.
Oh,
'Cause I
right,
know
yep.
that there's that, well, the insurance is one thing, they probably have that, but the $500 deposit, I really wouldn't want to ask for that right now.
Okay.
Right,
So
yeah,
we-
we never do that until it gets approved, so that's no problem.
Okay.
so I just want to say, I agree with Greta that a Friday night date time would be good. Either that last weekend in September or the next, was that Friday, October
So the 25th or or October
the 2nd?
When is the film festival?
October 6th, Clara said.
Okay, so that would be the
It would be the
following weekend.
The following week, yeah.
Yeah,
For us, October 2nd would work better, but really we're trying to do whatever is the best.
well, if you'd rather, I mean, you'd prefer October 2nd.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, let's see. If Claire, if you could send me the information and also to Christy,
Yeah,
then
I
we
don't
can
have,
make sure Nancy gets that for the next council meeting.
And October 2nd would depend on the film festival. Sometimes, and I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, what they're planning.
I can look up those dates and confirm as well. Clara, I
Right,
think,
but
just
the-
if you want to use me as your central point as a coordinator, then we can talk offline and talk about the details and coordinate together. I'll give you a call.
okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sometimes the film festival needs lead time in terms of setting up. And again, I'm not sure precisely what they're doing, but,
Right.
or what kind of equipment you need to set up and how much time you need to set up.
Yeah,
Chairs, amplification, stuff like that.
I think we'll have our audience, or we'll tell our audiences to bring their own chairs. And then in terms of amplification, Christine and I spoke about that before, and she said that she'll let me know about the capabilities of the space and what we can actually bring in. So we'll try to keep it small in terms of our equipment. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
okay.
you.
So
All
we'll
right.
be in touch.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We're heading out.
Thanks. Okay, the next item on our agenda is I already actually said that the yoga class in Riverside Park went well. However, they didn't have any power for the mic, which they have to use. So Chagrin Hardware helped them out with that, but the service department needs to make sure that the power is on for that yoga class.
It's already been arranged.
And okay,
Yeah, we had talks yesterday. The problem we have is the request was made to turn off the power in many places throughout the village for unwanted use.
Right.
And then now we're getting different events at different places and different requests to use certain outlets. So we're trying to work out a system where it's not a burden on our staff, but yet we can meet the objectives of the events that get approved to be held in our parks. So we're working that out. I think we have a system worked out for Yoga by the Falls, since that's a recurring event. It's different when you have a one-time event versus something that's going to happen every week. And we're working to make that work.
So would the power be off the rest of the week?
That's the intent, is that we would turn it on in the morning, and then it would be turned off after they're done with their event, and we would go from there.
That's great.
We're going to try to make that happen.
Okay. That's all I have for that. The next item is a review of the Bar 3 session in Riverside Park. And my name is on there, but I don't know anything about it.
And I have, if you want me to share my screen, I have their application that I can share.
Oh,
You
okay.
can look at the details. Would that be helpful?
Yes, very, very much so.
Okay.
And could you repeat, what is this for in Riverside Park? I couldn't quite hear it.
It's called Bar, BARRE 3. It's all one word, session. And that's all I know. To me,
Okay,
it
so
seems
it's like
like
a bar
something to
class.
do with,
It's a bar
Yeah.
class. Who's offering
bar class.
that?
It is, I've spoken with the person who wants to hold this event, and it's Bar 3 Solon, and they would like to extend very similar to Chagrin Yoga, free bar classes in the park. And if you can likely see the form on the
yeah.
on the Zoom. They have spoken about flexibility and dates and times. But again, you can look at the application as presented, and very, very, very similar to Chagrin Yoga.
So this is a company that operates in Solon?
Correct. And their
You know,
goal is just to offer the free classes, continue their awareness and their brand, and allow people to have access to bar classes.
Where are they in Solon?
I don't know.
So when do they want to do
Oh.
this?
Sorry, Nancy, on the address, it says they're on Cruzy Drive.
Okay.
So is this a once a week thing?
They said they're flexible on the time. So they wanted to get some input first.
I would say no myself. They've got plenty of places in Solon to do that.
This is one of those tricky legal things, right, Nancy, where we set a precedent.
I mean,
with
I don't
Virginia.
know, all of this, right now, I mean, I really do think that we're really dependent on the COVID issues. And I know that there's a wide range of viewpoints on that subject. And I just think that it needs to be a greater conversation and understanding, and where the balance is. Just with everything going on. I mean, I just think right now, I know the young lady mentioned South Korea, which I thought was interesting because, at least in my opinion, South Korea is doing a lot better than we are in containing this virus, and Ohio's having an upsurge. And I mean, I just think we need to look at that, forgetting about, other issues about park rules and so on and so forth. I mean, I can maybe drive over to Solon, and I mean, I've taken bar classes, so they'd have to bring in equipment. They've got to have a bar of some sort, depending on how many people they have, and to keep them apart from each other. So I mean, I guess, you know, I or somebody would need to talk to the lady in charge of this event, you know, and see exactly what it is, what she's talking about, other than from a piece of paper. It's hard for me to read. Printing is small. It looks like it's 20 to 25 people. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I mean, to me, that's a lot of people for a bar class, at least what I'm picturing of the bar classes I've been in. So I think somebody needs to talk with her. I don't mind talking to her, but somebody needs to and see what, you know, what kind of room they're talking about taking up.
Could you do that, Nancy? Because I have no familiarity with this.
Well, I mean, I have no familiarity with this particular.
No, but I mean,
what-
even a bar class, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they're, anyway.
It's like a ballet bar, Anne. You know, like
Yeah, I know what it is, but I mean,
And it's similar, I mean, I guess it is similar to ballet, the stretches, the exercises.
it does seem sort of random to me, actually, but I understand their motive.
I'm sorry, Greta, you said that the
It
classes,
just seems it seems a little bit random for a group from Solon to come into Chagrin to do this.
I
I don't
right.
know if that's legally right or not.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Solon has enormous parks. They've got that one, I don't know, somewhere over by, like by the senior center, somewhere there's that giant park. I forget exactly how I get there, but it's huge. So anyway, I just think, I mean, and I think that, you know, the yoga class, you know, it is a local class and we've had them before, but I personally, and again, this is just me talking, not anybody else, but I think 50 people was a lot to have. I mean, I know people are anxious to do things and get out and participate, you know, as am I, but again, we have different views of the safety of different things, so.
well, another thing to consider is that usually activities that take place in the park have to do with benefiting the village. And since this outfit is from Solon, maybe it isn't appropriate.
Well, the market isn't from the village either. You know,
Yeah, I
that-
know, it's actually Shaker Square. but-
Actually, that's probably not a conversation. You know, what benefits the village and what doesn't.
Mhm.
I don't know. So, I mean, that,
Well-
personally, my concern is, you know, the size of the class. But again, that's me. You know, again, I think the yoga class was too big.
Mhm.
But and this requires equipment. Yoga really doesn't require any equipment other than what the person brings themselves.
Well, how would you like to handle this?
I'll go and talk to her. What else is there to, I mean, you know, the same as we handled the chamber thing. You know, we're not approving anything. Everything's contingent on council, right?
Okay.
Because of the COVID rules. So, I mean,
Okay, sounds
there's a
good.
lot of uncertainty about all of this.
Right.
Is there a representative from, what's
The
this?
contact person, according to this list, is Vicky Giancola.
And
Right,
they are
and
not
is-
present on the meeting.
Is there somebody on our meeting?
No.
Okay.
So Nancy, if you could find out about this, more about this, and what should we do following whatever you find out? It looks to me as if they want to get going on this, but how would you like to handle this?
Well, again, I mean, if you want to approve it or not approve it, council's got to review it in any event.
Mhm.
So, and council is going, you know, we can talk about it at council. What, Monday, I think we're meeting,
Yeah,
my calendar.
Yes, we're meeting Monday.
Yeah. So we'll talk about it. We'll see, you know, you know, I'm one of 7 votes on council and we'll see what everybody else thinks.
I vote no
Okay,
myself.
And I don't know what we didn't really vote on the chamber music. And we should probably vote on this, unless you don't want to. I mean, it's up to you.
I'm
Um,
comfortable voting for the music situation. That seems like a perfect fit for our village, and they are very flexible, and their group will be smaller. So, but, yeah, and then it seems like the soul and bar class needs a little bit more research before there's any sort of, or a proposal even, before there's any sort of vote.
Right. I agree with Greta.
Yeah, except that technically, I would say this application is a proposal, is it not?
But we can probably ask for clarification of anything that we don't understand.
Yeah, you can always ask for more information.
Do they propose a date here?
No,
Okay.
they just say flexible weekdays and weekends. Okay, so do we need to backtrack to Chagrin Yoga, I mean to the Encore Chamber Music and approve that?
Well, if you want to recommend it to council, I suppose, yeah. Recommend it or not recommend it.
Yeah, I think we should
Okay.
recommend it.
All right, let's go
So,
around. Like Greta, I will follow that recommendation. I think it's a great idea. And
Yeah,
how do you feel?
I feel the same way. I vote yes.
Nancy? How do you vote
Nancy?
for yoga?
No, for the
chamber music.
Encore.
Encore.
Nancy?
I don't know.
Okay,
I guess I'll abstain.
Jeff?
I'll vote yes.
Okay,
What was the total vote then?
was
3,
three.
4, 1 abstain.
Mm. Okay, I vote yes. This is Todd.
okay. So we have 4 yeses and 1 abstention. Okay,
Okay. And this, do you want council to talk about this?
yes,
Okay. So do you want to recommend that council review it?
yes. And I will, I'm assuming Clara will send me that document and I'll send it to you too, Nancy.
Okay.
Okay, as far as the bar 3 is concerned, we just need to find out more about that. We can't recommend that yet.
I agree.
So you don't even want me to bring it up at council?
I don't think so. I think we should find out about it first. I feel it is kind of an oddball thing. I agree with Greta on that one too. And also with Todd, I mean, Solon has plenty of room for that.
They do it that. I can't imagine that they aren't already holding classes there, but why do you need them in Chagrin also?
Right.
Well, it is a promotional type thing for anybody doing anything in the park. Anything like anyway, other than a personal thing. Yoga by the Falls is promotional. Chamber. Yep. So.
But that's for a Chagrin outfit. This is Solon.
Well, again, that market is not Chagrin at all. So.
I know.
So, I mean, that's not a criteria for.
Okay, well, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I just feel that we need to know more about it.
I agree with Ann.
I agree as well.
So Nancy, just if you could find out more about it and then we'll talk about it at our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, Christy, could you email me that application, please?
Yes, I will.
'Cause I think it's got the name and phone number.
Yes, I'll make sure you have it, Nancy.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is the new park that's going to be at Grove Hill. And this is still in the talking stages, but I just thought you'd like to hear from Rob about what they're kind of anticipating.
I don't have a whole lot to say other than the property is in the process of transferring right now. Council approved the donation agreement and we're finalizing those details to actually transfer the land to the village. I believe it's the intent to have some ideas formulated in some public meetings as we move forward before anything is done to that piece of property. There is a part of the agreement to accept the donation is that there would be an initial committee established of representatives from the village as well as from the Land Conservancy that would work on the initial plan for that park. And then their recommendation would then go to the Parks Commission, to all of you for review, and then recommendation to council for approval. Once the project is executed and completed, that committee would no longer be in place. So it's kind of a good way to get the project kicked off, to get everybody on the same page and then have all the appropriate levels of review before anything is done to that site. I know some of the initial ideas are very much towards a passive park with some seating areas, some nice landscaping, but no sort of attractive type things, no sort of equipment or anything like that. We'd likely have a garbage can down by the sidewalk entranceway, so it would be easy to be maintained. People could go up there with their lunch and things like that and enjoy that space and enjoy the view. So there'll be some designs that eventually will be worked on as that committee moves forward. As soon as all the land transfers and we get those details done, I'm sure we'll be putting together the process for getting the people named to that committee and working on that with the Western Reserve Land Commission. So the very early stages are in motion and we look forward to seeing this become part of our parkland.
I think it's
Sounds
great. I'm
great.
excited about it. Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
We'll stay tuned.
Yep.
Okay, the next item is the park application form. And that's Christy and Nancy.
So the Facilities Commission we're working on parks application. We do have a proposal for council. I think it's been on a couple readings with some modifications for extending and defining the hours for the park. Right now, the only code section that deals with hours is for Riverside Park. Closes at 11 and reopens at 6, I believe. And the cemetery has closing and opening hours, sunset to sunrise or sunrise to sunset. It's open. So this ordinance will cover all the parks. The Facilities Committee worked on it. We worked on it Monday morning at a meeting. And so I think it's ready to go to council and hopefully council will approve it. So it puts hours on all the parks, signage. I guess there've been some issues of people spending the night in Triangle Park and apparently also on one or both of the Falls viewing landings. So that's been a concern. It is a concern. So we need to put hours on all the parks. So that'll come before council on Monday.
So
And
that wraps
so-
some parameters around the parks application and what we allow and what we don't.
No, this particular ordinance just covers the opening and closing hours of the parks.
Okay.
Um,
But how that relates to the application form, it just, again, allows people that are applying to reserve a park or space in a park, some parameters around which they can occupy that space.
Right, and we're looking at that too. What our goal, at least what our goal right now is to have one application that would apply to all the parks. And then, different parts to that application, depending on which park it was and what you wanted to do, and not to have a whole bunch of separate, like I know now there seemed to be two, when I went online, there seemed to be two different wedding applications. And the application, like the one that the bar class people used, that form, I couldn't find it online.
I email that out. That's our standard park event form.
So that's not online.
I can verify, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I couldn't find it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't there somewhere.
Sure.
I just couldn't find it. But the two
Yeah,
that
I don't have a definitive answer, but I could certainly look it up.
Yeah.
Just a quick tangent. Does the Parks Commission review wedding forms that have been submitted as well? Or is that just something administratively that?
It's nothing that council ever approved, that wedding.
No, I didn't know if the Parks Commission wanted to review any wedding applications that have been put in. And my understanding is that that's just kind of a courtesy because it's public space, that anyone holding a wedding is just kind of letting us know as a courtesy that they'll be occupying some space, and that then we have in turn the opportunity to let them know that they can't post, adhere decorations to the surrounding facilities, and that that it is a public space and other people need to maintain access, and that it can't be blocked off and things like that. So
I'm not convinced that it's a courtesy. I mean, I think to me, it's an application like any other application. If they want to use the space, it's no different.
So would you like to review those applications as they come in as a Parks Committee? Or is
I
that
think we-
administratively just for us as a village?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not particularly in favor of that application. I don't know who created it or how it came to be. But again, under the current circumstances and the health rules, and I have not looked at them, they change, and I have not looked at them up to date to today. But I just am not convinced that we should be having weddings either, any more than some of these other events. I don't see that that's necessarily different from a chamber music event.
Mhm.
If somebody decides to have 50 people at a wedding in the park.
I think there is a different guideline right now for wedding receptions, because I know that was
There may be, but it's not.
very confusing.
It's not something that was approved by council. And I don't think that we're interested in having large gatherings in the park right now. I mean, I don't think that it's under the guidelines. I mean, I still think we're limited to 10 people to a group.
We have had applications in the past, especially people wanting to have pictures on the stairway to the falls. And, that can be a real concern, because if it's too many people, that's a terrible liability for the village.
I understand that. And that's why, again, I think that's something that needs to be reviewed. And I don't think that I thought there were two things that I saw under forms, and neither one of them was ever approved by council. I don't know who created them. I don't know that there are a lot of weddings going on right now in the park, or people are applying, or what's going on. But again, I mean, those same rules apply, whether it's a wedding or a concert or yoga.
Sure,
I don't think, at least I, for one, I'm not ready to throw those rules to the winds. just because somebody decides, you know, the weather's nice and, you know, we want to have a big party in the park.
Yeah.
I do have a wedding application that was submitted recently within a week. So I need some guidance from Parks Commission administration. I can talk to Rob offline about what my next step is when I get that application.
Yeah.
I need some guidance.
How many people are they talking about?
I don't have that handy at the moment, but I will look at it. Stop my video. Let me see if I can find that form. Actually, I do have it in an email. Just give me a moment. There it is.
Is this a request for a wedding or a reception?
It's a wedding. They, at the Falls Overlook, we don't have a space on this form as I see it as a number of attending. So.
Right. And again, I don't know where that form came from. I don't think it's appropriate. I think that the regular form, at least, even though that's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a lot better than the wedding thing.
My guess is it was some sort of predecessor to mine that created this form.
It was Debbie, and we worked on it last year, I think. It was
But it
before
isn't
you were here.
anything that, to my knowledge, it's not anything that council reviewed, at least not since I've been on council.
Yes, my understanding up to this point is that because these parks are public spaces, anyone can really have a wedding. Anyone can occupy our public spaces, whether they inform us or not. And this is somewhat of a courtesy to the village to let us know that there will be a group present.
And I'm not sure that that's exactly an accurate statement.
Right.
And again, because of the COVID regulations, that takes precedent over another conversation about events in the park.
Right.
And that needs an application, you know.
Clear as mud.
You know, I feel though that
I mean,
they should.
I'm not saying that it's that absolute a thing, but at least for now, at least in my opinion, and until, you know, the law director or the mayor say otherwise, the COVID regulation take precedent over stuff, which to me means that and again, I was concerned about that many people having the yoga class. It did look like a huge space taken up in the park. I didn't walk over there, but there were a lot of people there. So, and until this thing is cleared up, I think that all takes, at least in my opinion, that takes precedent over these other conversations and concerns, including a wedding. I mean, if they're going to come in here with 50 or 100 people and think they're going to have a wedding, I think we're going to have a problem.
The people I've spoken to are talking about parties of 10 or less, and the COVID, anytime that I've sent that wedding form out or spoken with anyone, it's always been on the condition that the state and local guidelines set the precedent and that they're expected to adhere to those numbers. And that's been an understanding.
But if we don't even have numbers on that form.
Right. So I present this as needing more guidance.
Should we write up like a COVID addendum thing to attach to all the applications saying blah, 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 per COVID, state recommendations. Yes, you can have your wedding if it follows all the COVID requirements. Yes, you can have your yoga class if it follows all the restrictions, that kind of thing. And that way, when this is all resolved, we can just pull that addendum out and go back to revamping our applications like we were going to do.
That's not a bad idea, but on the other hand, not everybody knows exactly what they are, and not everybody agrees to what they are. So
Very easy to find.
And they keep
interpret.
changing too.
And interpret also. And I talked to Dale about this, and I had mentioned we had some concern previously about whether we should be interpreting the state guidelines, since they change often and sometimes they're difficult. They have exceptions for unique type of circumstances like wedding reception sort of things, but other gatherings are not allowed. And I said, would it be appropriate if we simply stated that they have to follow all the current state guidelines at the time? We're talking, some of these events are proposed for months ahead of time, and we can't really say yes or no based on today's restrictions that are in place from the state, because they may or may not change by the time that event happens. So,
And did Dale say, did he say that sounded good?
well, he said that sounded good. We could put in there, you must follow all regulations. We're not the ones that enforce those regulations. So if somebody complains and says, hey, I went to the park and there was a group that was not following the current rules, that gets reported to the county health department, and they investigate. And if they contact us, we can direct them to the person that that was given permission to hold the event. I do understand the concern of everybody in approving an event that may or may not follow guidelines, but I think if we, I do like the idea of putting people on notice when they apply that they have to follow whatever guidelines are in place at the time of their event. Then that kind of covers this, it's not like we're approving it for this weekend and we know what the rules are going to be for this weekend. This could be months down the road when things either get worse or better. And that it would be very difficult for us to, I don't want to be in the position of the village or the Parks Commission interpreting the current health guidelines to determine whether an application is appropriate or not.
And
Absolutely.
And yes, and this is why I don't think that we should literally approve any applications, even for a wedding. Council needs to look at it, and you can't just, in my opinion, you can't just say to some random person who you don't know, you have to follow the guidelines. There's just too much disagreement on what those guidelines are, whether they should do this, that, or the other thing. And I just don't think the village needs the hassle of just not saying, no, we're not having the large gatherings over 10 people. So you can't have a wedding if it's more than 10 people. You can't have a concert if it's more than 10 people. I personally am not prepared to approve something like that. And a wedding, I don't know who's looked at them or why they're not considered just another event in the park, depending on how many people there are, where it's going to be. You're talking about.
Side note, they don't always want to have them in an official park. A lot of people want to be at the stairs to the falls, and that's not an official park.
It is village property, and actually it is village property.
Yep.
And we are looking at rules for all village property. So yes, it's not a park. The village property, the village hall isn't a park either, but it's village property. The parts of there's other properties in the village that aren't necessarily parks. So
Of course.
I think there's issues about having something like that on those a wedding on the falls viewing area. I know we redid that one, but if somebody's going to have a wedding there, then they're taking that space completely over for themselves for a period of time. And I'm not sure that, that's an appropriate use of village property to turn it over to somebody, as opposed to having something in Triangle Park, maybe where you're only taking part of it, or Riverside, River Run, any of the other parks where you're taking part of it. When somebody has an event and we give them permission to do something like that, I'm not sure that that's something we want to do or don't want to do. But you are giving it over to somebody for what, an hour or so? That platform, the stairs, the whole thing.
But when we do that, it's with the caveat that they have to recognize that other people have to be able to use those steps too. They can't just.
How is that
close it
possible?
off.
How is that possible for somebody else to use the steps if we've given permission to somebody to use that landing to have a wedding and get married? It's not possible.
It's like any other park. I mean, if you plan an event like that, it's with the understanding that it's a public park and it can't be completely reserved.
Nothing stops a group of 10 or 15 teenagers from going down there for an hour at a time either.
Right.
It's akin to that. And if we want people to continue to inform us of these events, we just need a clearer process. Otherwise, people are just going to show up and do it. So as a person who handles the administrative end of this, I just am looking for clarity in process. I'm happy to manage a form. I need input on what should be on it from the Parks Commission and administration. From a form standpoint, I have looked at online versus paper format. Given our current process, I'm gonna tangent the conversation a little bit to our form process. I actually like our paper form because we're not a big entity. It seems like the folks who have the online fillable form are larger entities. Because we take the information and pass it along the line to parks and then to commit and then to council. I like the paper format, so we're all looking at the same information, and I can make that a PDF that's much more easily read and interpreted and submitted. We just need some clarity on what should go on those forms and some clarity about who submits what form for what event.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that same form should be for all events. I tried to find it yesterday and I couldn't. I know that you did send it to me once. I'm not suggesting that it be interactive online.
Right.
But I think it should be available online.
Sure.
And the two forms that I did find, I don't think are helpful at all.
Yeah.
In terms of information.
Sure.
And I think that form can be modified so that some of the basic information on it is required for everybody. And then if it's approved, then you need to get the deposit, the insurance, so on and so forth.
And do you feel like weddings should also should have the same rules with a deposit and?
I do. I don't,
insurance?
well, again, we can talk about some of the details, but I think that they should have that same basic form in terms of, where, when, how many, who, and so forth. I think everybody should have those same basic rules. I mean, I'm not convinced that a wedding is any different from some other type of gathering.
Right.
When I filled out my form for Geauga Parks for the wedding at Russell Uplands, it was the same form. Like I had to say how many people, timing, any equipment, whatever, all the standard questions, even though it was a wedding. So that seems to make sense to me. I mean, I think it's a gathering like any other, and all that information should be put on the same form. Should be one form.
That sounds good to me.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, the details, I know, like, the bathroom facilities, the insurance, the costs, some of those other things, I think could be dependent on what type of event it is. And I wouldn't require those at the initial application filling out, but they should be on the application, and we just, asterisks, and you don't have to do that now till it's approved. But that way people would know what the parameters are that they would have to adhere to.
That makes sense.
And I
Christie,
think it's good to have an application for everything so that we know what's, coming in the parks.
Rob, is this something you and I can talk
Yes.
about offline and
yeah, we
then
can
circle
talk
back
about
to
it.
parks?
yes, why don't we talk about it and then look at what we have for weddings and for general park events. We can kind of put that together in a draft and send it out to the Parks Commission for review.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
We can talk about it forever in this meeting, but
Right.
Rob and I can talk offline and then come back to the group and address it at our next meeting.
And if anybody has any
Thanks,
thoughts or ideas before that, that's something you really feel strongly about, feel free to email us and we'll incorporate that in. Well, once we get the draft out, we'll get everybody's input, and then maybe by the next meeting, we'll have a draft form out for everyone to take a look at.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
Christy, if you could please send that to me.
Send the existing form or the draft once we create it?
Both.
Okay, yes, of
But
course.
Do you have another
I
draft?
have to jump off for another call, so I gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hi.
The only thing I have currently, Nancy, is our existing form.
Okay, I'd like that again. I know that you did send it to me. I just couldn't find it in my
Sure.
computer.
I'm happy to send it again, of course.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we need to move on. Rob, I have you down in miscellaneous about this park bench.
Oh, yeah, I haven't received anything back after I responded. I received an inquiry from a person that wanted to coordinate a memorial bench in one of the parks. They weren't real specific. They just wanted the general idea, wanted to know what our thoughts were on the general idea. They wanted some sort of memorial bench with a plaque on it. I explained to them that we don't allow any kind of labeling or any kind of plaques on anything. We have accepted memorial benches in the past, but they've been coordinated with the village as far as style, size, and placement. There was one bench placed down at River Run Park as a memorial bench, and we worked with Parks Commission on that. I asked her to, I kind of told her we don't allow the labeling or the a plaque to be placed on it, but if they still wanted to donate a bench, it would have to be in concert with the wishes of the Parks Commission on location and style. We did try very hard to standardize our benches with the black metal bench design that we have throughout all our parks. And we really didn't want anything that was going to deviate too much at that time from that. So I also mentioned that people have donated, trees or other plants and not had a plaque or anything on them, but just to know that, okay, this tree was donated, just when they walk by it, they can say that was a tree that we had donated. I asked her for, to talk about it further. She was going to talk about it further with the family involved. And then I asked her for like a letter or a request that I could then bring before the Parks Commission for consideration. The thought years ago when this topic was discussed about, memorial type donations was they didn't want all of our parks to become memorial grounds with multiple items that all had plaques on them. So that was kind of the direction we followed over the years. But again, anybody that requests anything like that, I kind of want to let them know where we're at and then get kind of in writing what their thoughts were and bring it before the commission to consider and comment back.
So is she going to get back to you or how is it?
Yes, yeah, she was going to get back to me once she talked more with the family. I also mentioned the fire station donation program where you can buy a brick. Part of that with different levels of donation, you can monogram or engrave sayings on a brick for the new fire station project. She said that was of interest also. So I think she was just in a very early stage, just asking for information on what's possible and what we allow. But if I get anything back, I'll definitely send it out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, Catherine Malmquist is here from the library. She's our branch manager to tell us about an idea for story walks. Catherine?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
What it is Story Walk started off in Northeast United States, and it's basically taking picture books or first fiction books and putting them out in the parks as something where a family can walk for read the first page, and then you walk 40 feet and read the second page, and you walk 40 feet and read the third page, into something like that. It wouldn't cost the village anything, but we do need to have permission to do this in the parks. We would like to do this in River Run and Riverside Park. It wouldn't be any cost to the village. We're hoping that the Friends would help support us on buying the books. And we have to buy 2 books because you have to do both sides of the page. And we would laminate them, put them on a stake, put the stake in the ground so it's not even permanent. And maybe you switch it out every month or every 2 months.
So would these stay in place over a period of time, or is it just one day?
Well, whatever you want. We kind of like to do it like 2 months and then switch it out with another book in another 2 months. We wouldn't do it in the winter because we don't think most people would want to walk and read at the same time in the middle of a snowstorm or whatever. But I was thinking we could do August, September as one book and then switch it out to do October and November, the second book, and then start it up in the spring. The idea is to get the families out and reading at the same time, exercise and reading. The third place we're going to try to do it is actually in the village itself using storefront windows. But that's not part of the Parks Commission.
I
So
love
are-
the storefront idea. That's such a great idea. I know the families would love that. I'm not sure about the stakes in the park. Everyone chime in.
Actually, that's how Story Walk started, is getting people out and walking in the parks. I don't think it's ever been done in storefronts. This is throughout the United States now, Story Walk. But I thought this way people would be walking through the village, looking through the store windows and reading the book as they walk along. But originally Story Walk was in parks, or are in parks right now. And that's how they do it. They put the item on a stake, put it in the ground, and people would walk and read at the same time.
So
Each page is laminated, so they,
Yes, so it is kind of protected from the weather, yes.
and each page is on a different stake?
Yeah, so you start at one point, and in this case, let's say it's Riverside, you would start down by the end of the stairs. And the family would read the first page, and there'd be a little instruction saying, walk 40 feet, 20 feet, whatever, to the next one, and read the next page or look at it, because most of them are picture books. The idea is for the youngest kids to read it.
do you have concerns about them being vandalized? I do.
I know they'll be vandalized, but hoping that for the most part they wouldn't be. But other villages, and actually in Cleveland, there are story walks in about 5 or 6 of the Cuyahoga branch areas. And they've lasted so far.
Yeah. So, but that involves putting quite a few stakes in the ground in the
No,
park.
actually, with picture books, you only have maybe 5. Well, actually, because you're doing both sides, you may have to have 10 stakes. Yes.
Well, that's quite a few, I think.
True.
So, I mean, it's putting structures in the park, basically, is what you're requesting.
True.
And
But
it
yeah,
may,
The idea is to get families out and walking and reading together.
what about,
I could tell you where some of the others are. I can look it up, where other story walks are. And if you are concerned, you could go and take a look. Actually, there's one I know at the Orange Library. And if you have a concern, take a look at how they did it.
You said at the library?
At the Orange Library, yeah. All of these are library oriented. Story walks are library oriented.
Well, is it the Orange Library itself, or?
Yes, it starts at the Orange Library.
And
There's
goes,
there's a whole area behind, on the side and behind the library. I don't know if you knew that. And they've made that around there.
okay, but that's the library. Yeah.
I don't know if the whole land is owned by the library. I'm saying the Orange Library is the one that set it up.
Hmm.
It starts at the library.
It's probably all, isn't the Orange Library on, it's the new
Yeah.
library across, across from high school, right?
But there's
Right,
a whole,
right.
there's a whole field that isn't owned by the library behind them.
Do you know who owns it?
Is it something that we could vote to recommend to council, and then council can go further, or do we need more information?
I think we need a lot, I for one need a lot more information.
I can send you the whole history of Story Walk And I will also send you the places that have it. So if you have a concern about what it looks like or how it works, you can go take a look, but I do know Orange has it.
Right, you said it has it at the library. This is
Starts
talking
at the
about,
library, just like it would start here at Chagrin Library if it was Riverside.
right, but then it would go through Riverside Park, and it's putting structures in the park, and that's something that the village has not ever done. It puts permanent structures in the park.
It is not, first of all, it's not permanent. And second of all, yes, there are other structures in Riverside Park and River Run that was put in by the village. This is not going to be put in by the village.
I have one concern. What about mowing? What would those signs impede the mowing?
No, not really.
Okay,
If you put it by the walkway, I mean, yeah, unless you want it to kind of meander to the shelter that you have or something like that, not sure.
yeah, that would be a problem. I like the idea. I think it sounds like fun, but I don't know.
I'm not real convinced that that there's any great benefit to the village from doing this. I mean, I think there's other ways to encourage children to read.
I love the storefront idea. I know that's not parks related, but I do think that that is a really clever way to use our village actually to encourage reading.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that it would be a promotional thing for the stores too, or could be.
Yeah.
As I said, Storywalk was not originally designed for that. They wanted people out walking in parks. But I mean, I just brought that up as one way I thought that would assist some of the storefronts for people to stop and look into their window. I mean, besides reading the book, they will see whatever the store put in their window. But
right, absolutely.
Storywalk was basically for getting people out walking in the parks.
And I'm not sure that we need to convince people to walk in the park and read. I mean, I think that people walk in our parks to a great extent. I mean, I don't think that they're underused. And again, I would hope that parents would have better ways of reading to their children than walking along in a park.
Well, it's a novel idea. I mean, we're all looking for something to do that is different. And I like the idea.
I
encourage you to go to one of the branch. I'll send you the information on what branches have it. As I said, locally, I know Orange has it. I'm not sure if Solon has it. And in all those cases, they're surrounded by public land.
Yeah, if you could send that information to Nancy and to me and Greta, or at least send it to me and I can. We don't have a quorum anymore, so we can't really vote on it. But yeah, I'd like to know more about it.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
So Catherine, I'll call you after this meeting and give you the email addresses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So does anyone have anything else that falls under miscellaneous?
Nope.
Larry Trace is the other attendee. Do you have anything to add, Larry? I don't think so, Anne. I think we're
okay. So it's now, let's see, 9:46. So our next meeting will be the first Wednesday of September, which is
September 2nd.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, 8:30 a.m. September 2nd. Got it.
Hold it though. When is Labor Day? Is that
Labor Day is
the
September 7th. September 7th is Labor Day.
So that's the second Monday. That would be normally a council Monday.
Council in September will be the 14th and
8th and the
28th.
28th.
September 7th.
So I mean, Wednesday, the 2nd should be fine.
Except that
think.
it's before Labor Day.
And
Does
that
that
have any
matter?
Impact on the Parks Commission meeting?
Okay, I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't think it does. I
So,
mean,
so we're meeting the first Wednesday of the month now, is that?
yes, we changed that last time.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone all right with that? I think,
Yeah.
I think we've just about lost everybody.
All right,
Well-
so meeting adjourned 9:48. I'm writing that down.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
great. All right. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks,
Ann. Bye,
Greta.
Ann.
Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Nancy.